Hello, good morning. It's just gone 9 AM on Monday, the 26th of September, and this is my first video for a while actually. I'm not even sure what I'm going to call it yet. You'll have probably got an idea from the thumbnail. I quite often think of these things on the road. I haven't been making any videos recently, but I have been out doing things like bivvying and doing some longer distance rides. I just wanted August and most of September off from filming, really, just to sort of mentally recharge my batteries. So that's the reason there's been a bit of a gap between videos. Anyway, today I'm heading out about just under 50 miles, and there's two themes to the ride today. Firstly, I'm riding out to a church at Langport called All Saints, and I'm going to spend the night there. It's a 15th century church. It's called Champing, which is basically a combination of, it's a mashup between camping and churches. And the second theme is en route. I'm going to be visiting 3 thankful villages. Just a quick recap about thankful villages. James, thanks very much buddy, a YouTube subscriber, told me about them just literally a couple of months ago. I'd never heard of them, and they're villages in England and Wales. Sadly Scotland, Northern Ireland don't have any, where every person who left to fight in the First World War returned safely. Somerset, the county I live in, has got more thankful villages than any other in the UK, 9 in total. I've visited 3 recently. I'll put one of those box thingies up in the top right hand corner now about that. Today I'm visiting another 3 en route, so 2 themes really, based around churches. Visiting these thankful villages on my way south from here, and then I'm going to be spending a night champing in a church. It's 15th century church, so I've got all to myself. Just a quick bit about the route. I always try and put a map up just to give you an idea of what I'm doing and where I'm heading. So I'm actually now leaving Bath on the Bath to Bristol cycle pass. I'm only literally going about 4 or 5 miles to Saltford. Then I'm going to start heading south from there, crossing down over the Chew Valley to my first thankful village at Chelwood. It's a place I've driven through many times, cycled through a few times. I'm vaguely aware there's a church there, but like a lot of these mini tours, you always discover things that you just didn't know were there when you sort of ride off with the theme, really. The Roman road cycling has taught me that. Then is over the Mendips, dropping down to Rodney Stoke, the second of the 3 thankful villages. That's on the road between Cheddar and Wells. And then it's across the Somerset levels to Shapwick, which then after the 3rd village of Shapwick, I'll be heading south over the Somerset levels, and then coming into Langport, which is sort of, it's combined with Kingsbury Episcopi, I think you pronounce it. It's actually got an arch. I'm going to try and ride in through the arch. It's always nice entering Langport, Kingsbury, through that arch. It feels almost like you're abroad. Anyway, that's enough of the introduction. I'm heading out that way in a few miles time, making a major direction change over the Mendips. See you on the road. This will be a good test of the windsock over my microphone because the wind's picking up a little bit. I came out over that hill along the Avon Valley and then crossed up from Saltford to this crossroads here, and I'm heading that way. In a few yards time I'm going to be turning right, parallel in the A39. You can just see the line of it along there and some traffic going along. That's actually the main Bath to Falmouth road. It's a very long road. I've driven the length of that. Along here though is a minor road out of Corston village on the outskirts of Bath, and that's Duchy of Cornwall land along there. I guess now it would be designated a Duchy of Cornwall and Cambridge due to recent events. Anyway, heading down there. I'm now entering the boundary of my first thankful village, Chelwood. So I cut across the Chew Valley, so it's a steep climb, steep drop, another steep climb. It's called Hamburger Hill, onto this Bath to Weston-super-Mare road. Anyway, the boundary side for Chelwood, this is the first time I've seen it referred to as a thankful village. That's the main road going through Chelwood. It's a very small place, more of a hamlet than a village, and this is the first of the churches. So my quest is to try and find the designated thankful village signs, and I found from when I went to the first 3 of the villages, they're normally either in the church or very close by, so that's what I'm going inside to have a look at. As I said, driven through this village so many times, I was vaguely aware there was a church here. I've never been to come and have a look. Looks really nice, doesn't it? Let's see what we can find. I wonder if we can get inside. As usual in my videos, I'll put all the links in the description below, so I'll try and put links to each of the churches, so if you want to know more about them, it'll be in the links below. Unfortunately, no access to the church. It's a lovely location, so I'm going to wander around and see if I can find the Thankful Village sign. See if we can get a look inside. Oh, that looks very nice. What a shame the door is closed. And this is from the other side, looking towards Weston-super-Mare. Not quite sure what that is, that structure there in the corner. If anybody knows, please do put a comment below. As I came in, I did see there's a village hall. It looks like it used to be the old school, and there's a Chelwood sign there, so that's the next obvious place to look for the stone Thankful Village Memorial. I found from the last trip, well, I only went to 3 admittedly, so this is my 4th Thankful Village I've specifically come out to explore. But I found if you just start at the church, they're normally very close, or actually in the church. So let's have a wander over the road and check and see the village hall. Just a few yards further along from the church, which was on the opposite side of the road, that's heading towards Weston-super-Mare. Here's Chelwood Parish School, it says 1834, carved into stone. There's this lovely old road sign being overgrown by some ivy, saying Chelwood. There you go. I think I may have spotted the stone I'm looking for. This was the next obvious place to come to, because these things normally have sort of unveiling ceremonies, so it wouldn't just be in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, here we are, look. The 100th anniversary. On my first video, when I went to explore 3 of the Somerset Thankful Villages, I did sort of mention James, one of my subscribers, who first of all told me about this. He messaged me saying he thought they may have been of interest, and they certainly are. They've really fired my imagination. So I wanted to sort of give him a shout out on the video, and he got back to me and said something along the lines of, I hope you won't mind me sharing this, that he went through a village where he saw a war memorial with no names on it, and he just was curious enough to go home and like look it up and see what that was all about, and then he's passed it on to me, and now I'm passing it on to you. It's a great thing about YouTube, isn't it? People can just network and share things which they find of interest. Anyway, I seem to have taken ages and ages just to get about 6 miles from the outskirts of Bath, so I better start making my way across the Mendips and then drop down to my second Thankful Village of today, which will be Rodney, Stoke. I'm now running alongside Chew Valley Lake, and this is it. This is a man-made lake, in fact one of 3 reservoirs serving Bristol with water. There's Chew Valley Lake, Blagdon Lake, then there's a very circular Cheddar Reservoir. That's the Mendips across there, you might see on the left there, that's the Mendip transmitter. So I'm basically going to curl around and then go up over that, over the Mendip Plateau, before I drop down to my next Thankful Village at Rodney, Stoke. But you can tell it's been a really dry summer because the lake has almost got a beach. I've never seen that before actually. And the River Chew was rerouted and they flooded this valley in the 1950s. It was all planned and started before the war, but obviously the war put it back several years. And at low tide, which it is now, you'll see old buildings sticking through. You'll sometimes see the remains of a church tower. I've never actually seen the church tower, but this is the lowest I've seen it because it's been a very dry summer. We're now skirting around Chew Valley Lake. It's over there actually. We get some really good views shortly as we go across another one of those bridge stroke causeways. Here's another one of the causeways, bridges right alongside Chew Valley Lake. Again, I've never seen it so low. I've never seen so much of a beach here. I mean, after a lot of rain, it'd be lapping up there. And there's the Mendips looming. See if we can zoom in. I'm about 1,000 feet in elevation now up on the West Mendip limestone plateau. So I've just climbed up the north side, the True Valley side, and I'm heading southwards. Right behind me, that road going from right to left I've just crossed, that's almost the end of Margary's 45B. It's very bleak and exposed up here. That's looking over at the two radio masts where I ended 45B. And this is the road across to Cheddar Way. I'm going to drop down along the Cheddar to Wells Road, hopefully coming down in the village of Rodney, Stoke, I think, or very close by. I forget because I made this route up a couple of weeks ago and I forget exactly where I routed it. Anyway, next stop, plunging off the Mendips towards the second of today's thankful villages, Rodney, Stoke. I've come along that way, across the Mendip Plateau. You can see all the bits of limestone sticking through and all these dry limestone walls, and now we're literally just about to plunge off here. I came along here once with cyclists and I was like meandering, and they were in front. You just literally saw their body just disappear and their head go down. It's like a submarine submerging. Running along the foot of this hill is the Wells to Cheddar Road. Wells would be that way, Cheddar that way. We're going to drop down and join that at 90 degrees. I've just come down that very steep drop off the Mendip, so you can see signposted pretty. And you literally are on the boundary of Rodney, Stoke. Let's go and have a look at the sign. Yeah, it's a bit overgrown, but you can see a thankful village. That was 2 out of today's 3 thankful villages. Actually recognise it on the boundary sign. There's the big Mendip escarpment, very wooded along here this side. That's what I've just dropped off. Joined the road that ran from Wells to Cheddar that way, and then you turn off down through the village. This is by far the largest village I've been to so far of the thankful villages, and there's St Leonards Church. That's where I'm going to have my lunch. I found the stone sign already, and here we are. It's very windy down here. I'm going to dive in the church porch and have my lunch. I think you can actually get in this church. So yeah, second of today's signs. So nice getting out of this wind actually. So the next part is over the Somerset levels after lunch. But yeah, wow, look at this. Welcome to St Leonards Church. Oh, just all harvest festival-ish, late summer. Oh gosh, look at this. Wouldn't mind staying here tonight actually. Just before I sit down to eat my lunch, I just wanted to show you this. This is the Thanksgiving window. It says in 1920 this southwest window of the nave was transformed into the present Thanksgiving window. It's in recognition of all the survivors of the First World War that went off to fight and returned safely. Gosh, just off to one side there's almost these stone shrines. I think it's in recognition of the local family. It says meet the Rodneys. This remains of George Rodney Square. Wow. That was really nice. I was just having my lunch in the porch and I saw this lady walking around earlier on actually taking photographs. She came in, we had a bit of a chat, and she's from America. Her husband was brought up around here, so they came back to visit, and she was saying where was I from, and I sort of said Bath, and she said, oh, that's funny, I come from Bath, but Bath in Maine in the States. And then she said to me, like, what are you doing? And I told her. She said, oh yeah, Thankful Villages. And I said, oh, do you know what they are? And she said, yeah. And she sort of told me, and it's clear she did know what they were. And I thought, that's great, isn't it? Not many English people know what they are. I mean, I didn't know what they were until about a month ago. And then she said to me, have you ever been to the States? And I said, yeah, I rode across the States actually for my 40th birthday, not in a day, I did it over 3 months. She said, oh yeah, which, coast to coast, which route did you take? And I said, oh, I took a southern tier because my birthday was in February, and I started at San Francisco, went down the Pacific coast to San Diego, then went across, the southern states and ended up in the panhandle of Florida, St. Augustine, and then rode down the Florida coast, the east coast, down to Miami to get my flight home. So my sister's son has just ridden it. Actually, he took the northern tier across from Washington, and just such a lovely encounter. There's so many coincidences actually. She was saying the thing that impressed him most, I mean, he's in his 30s, covered in tattoos. He doesn't look the sort of people. He doesn't really look the sort that you'd imagine people would invite into their homes. And she was sort of saying exactly what happened to me. People could see you were travelling, they pretty much knew what you were doing because they must get so many people passing through their communities, because it does go through small town America. And people were offering to put him up and buy him meals, and just exactly the hospitality I had. It was just actually fantastic. So that was really nice. She's just in there now actually looking. So I'm going to be on my way anyway. So it's gone 2 o'clock now, so I need to head down that way over the levels. It's probably going to be quite windy. Drop down to Shapwick, where the third of today's 3 Thankful Villages are. I think it's St Mary's Church there, and then the final leg to tonight's tramping. Anyway, I better make move. I seem to have taken ages to just get this far. Now taking this road from Rodney, Stoke, along over the levels towards Shapwick. But now it's opened up, you get a really good view of the levels, the flatness, and then the sharp incline up to the Mendip Escarpment. So just there, as it starts to curl up, you can sort of see the upright spike of the Mendip transmitter over Wells. Then I came down somewhere through those trees there, and then it carries on along that way. In the foreground between us and the Mendips is one of these knolls. I think that's called Ben Knoll or something like that. And then you go along, you can see where they've cut the hill away, that big V there, cut that way, big quarry, Mendip Stone, I guess. I think that's quite close to Cheddar actually. Get all strawberries along here as well. So many places where you can buy them, because obviously you get this sunny aspect, and it's also sheltered from the northern winds by the Mendips. And it carries on along that way. Anyway, this way I had to put on a fleece back at the church because I started to cool down rapidly when I stopped, but now I've got to take it off because I'm heating up too much. Anyway, onwards. It's now mid-afternoon. I'm just coming to Shapwick, the third of my 3 Thankful Villages for today. The first boundary sign I've come to, no Thankful Village recognition. I'm going to head down to the church. As this road passes through from north to south, the direction I'm heading, a road crosses it from right to left, the crossroads, and that's where the church is. So I've just come in that way, passing this crossroads, that's a minor road to Bridgewater, and that's back to Wells. I'll be carrying on up over a little fold of hills actually called the Polden Hills. Nothing like the Mendips, but it's certainly a bit of a grind to get out there. This is the church on the crossroads. Really like this. I first saw this on a 1962, I think it was, John Betjeman short film, where he rode on the Somerset and Dorset Railway prior to its closure between Evercreech Junction and Burnham-on-Sea, and he was sort of making a plea. He was making a case for it not to be shut. I guess it was the impending closure of the Beechin cuts. Anyway, that's when I first saw this church, and I've just loved coming in by here ever since. Right in front of us, look, blue and yellow flag. Go and have a look at that, a peace flag. Seen them all over our country. And here's the church. Last time I popped in here, I think I sat in the porch on my way back home from Taunton Travelodge back in the, whenever it was, just before Christmas, just after. Right, let's see if we can find the Thankful Village stone. Not here by the look of it. Is it open? Oh yeah. Oh gosh, Food Bank, Sign of the Times. Wonder if it's open. Oh yes. Oh, isn't it lovely in here? Wow, look at that lovely stained glass window. I don't think the camera's doing that justice. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit. Wow, that's more like it. That's really basing in. That's sending in real nice coloured lights into what would otherwise be a quite dark church. Lovely wooden structure on the ceiling. Well, I'm not going to play around with the lights. Wow. This is lovely, isn't it? Wow, that's interesting. If you could ask God one question, what would it be? Well, do you know what? I never thought of that. You know, it never occurred to me. Oh, look, the Pilgrim Path in the Polden Hills. Glastonbury Abbey. Lots of wildlife down here, especially in the winter with the swans that come down from the Arctic. Oh wow. Wow, look at that stained glass as well. Wow. Ah, I've just found the stone. Look, there it is. I thought I was going to have to go looking for that and maybe asking someone. Just being in there, being bathed in that coloured light from the glass. I'm so looking forward to this evening. All Saints at Langport, it says, has the best stained glass windows in the county of Somerset. That's definitely going to take some beating actually. And it overlooks a Benedictine Abbey, and it's not far from the River Parrett. I'm really looking forward to just bedding down somewhere like this tonight. Having somewhere all like this to yourself. Oh gosh, these windows are so good. As it gets dark tonight, I'll have something very similar to this to myself. Wow. Maybe a little bit about tramping then. So I have stayed at one church before. It's up near Edinburgh. So the story was my friend Tom Outdoors, he's one of the guys I just follow so much on YouTube. And he made a video about one because his friend Kent Survival, Andy, had stayed at one, who I also follow actually. And I remember Tom saying, oh, interesting idea, but it's probably a bit, too much for me to pay because Tom's a wild camper as well. He doesn't really like even staying in campsites. And I thought the same, interesting. Yeah, I like looking around churches, but I'm not sure if I'd pay £49 for a night there. Well, the more I thought about it, the more I thought I might one day actually, just once, even if I don't like it, just to say I've done it. And then when the youth hostels shut down for the pandemic and then they reopened and they were very restricted in what they would offer, there's no shared dormitories, there's virtually none now. They keep saying there is, but it's like trying to find the cheapest flights on Ryanair. It's all right saying they're there, but it's just, do you really want to use that mental energy trying to find them? And it seems to be you've either got to book the whole hostel for £370 a night, or it says rooms from £29 a night. Well, that's a lot more expensive than they used to be, and a bit like trying to find a Ryanair cheap flight. It's all right saying from £29. The minute you go searching, they're about £65 a night, and I'm just not prepared to do that, to be honest. And I sort of think I'd rather go to Travelodge. And I thought, hey, I'm going to try different things coming out of lockdown. I am actually going to go to a church, and the first one I went to was Edinburgh, which is very close to me. I thought even if everything all goes badly wrong and I can't get in, I can just ride home, it's all downhill. I also saw Andy, Kent Survival, stay there on his way down to Dartmoor, I think. And I just thought, hey, that's on my doorstep. I ride by there so often. And that's what I did last year. And I thought, I'll give it a go, see what it's like. And I just loved it as well. And also what I was doing was I was trying out my kit ready for the Fossway. I wanted to try out pretty much everything I was going to take on a 70-mile day, and with the meths burner work, with the billy can, that sort of thing. Yeah, it was a bit of a snagging ride, just debugging the system. And I'm glad I did it as well, because there were a couple of little bugs I had to sort out. And I just loved the experience, and I just thought I will go back. And it's been, what was that, spring of last year? Maybe the year before, so it's been quite a time, but I just thought this autumn, this is what I want to do. And I had my eyes on this one straight away. And again, if all goes well tonight, I think what I may do is then go and get a train somewhere, because I've started taking my bikes on trains again this year, because I've sold my motorbike. And I've got a rail card as well, so it's relatively cheap, especially if you go off peak during the day. So I may do something similar to this, maybe just go up to Worcestershire or Gloucestershire and do a 50-60 mile ride and stay at Champion Church. Whether that'll be before the end of the season or not, I don't know, because they don't let you stay in them over the winter, because it'd just be too cold really. So I think the season is from April, if I'm right, to the end of October. So I've got a month or so left, so I may do another one this year. But I don't want to talk too much about the future, because I'm just so looking forward to tonight. In fact, I'm loving this as well. I don't even want to talk about tonight yet. I'm just loving this. I came in here thinking, I haven't found the sign. I'm going to have to go and find that after I've been here. So, to see it over there, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like train spotting or something. I don't know. It's just that great thrill that I come out. I want to visit the villages. If possible, go inside the churches, and also, sort of tick the box, see the signs as well. So it's become a bit of a quest for me, actually. Onwards, about 9.2 miles to my church, my destination for this evening, All Saints at Langport. What a brilliant way to arrive at my destination this evening. I'm literally a few hundred yards away from the church. I've just come in this way, and the boundary sign for Langport is literally on this sort of residential area, because as I said earlier on, Kingsbury and Langport sort of tend to merge into one. And just a few hundred yards along, look, there's the arch. You go, well, it's called the Gateway, I think. You go through that, and then the church is just as you drop down. Actually, there's some shops down there, so I might pop down the high street first and get myself some beer and maybe some breakfast tomorrow. What a great way to arrive. Feels almost like being in France or the continent. So literally just about 100 yards past the Gateway, the arch, here it is. All Saints Church, my accommodation for the night. I think what I might do before I pop down into town is go in and get myself in. I'm obviously not going to reveal how to do that, but you're given all the instructions on how to gain access. So I think I might do that first, lock my bike inside and then pop downtown. Okay, so I've got the key, and they do say churches can be confusing, so you need to enter via, I think they call it the south entrance, whatever it is. It's one facing the Somerset levels, because there's doors everywhere. Like, which one does this open? So let's go and find out. So this is my home for the night. Look at this, what an amazing place. Stained glass windows are fantastic. It's nicely lit up. Lots of light flooding in. So all these little LED lights flashing. Oh, there's the hospitality section, camp bed, hot and cold water, little stove to boil it, oh, little wine glass, washing up bowl, antiseptic wipes. I think these are those, those electric bulb candles. They're quite nice at night, actually, if you put those in front of the windows. The first thing I need to do is find out where the light switch is. I've got the PDF with all the instructions, but I sort of want to try and work it out myself first.